Men of Reddit, what is the most stupid reason a partner dumped you, but it still hit you hard?
I'll start it off. I dated this girl for a while and then we meet up one day and she says that she want to break up. I was confused because I gave her all my love and attention, so I asked, why? She said because I'm Denise. That shit just hit really hard even though it was stupid. Edit. Wow, wasn't expecting this to blow up like it did. To everyone who's giving advice or say to stop being a nice AI guy, that's just who I am, and to the people who think that I was smothering her, what I meant by being nice was that I would care for her too much, I guess. Anyway, this was a long time ago, so I'm good, and to the people sharing, I wanna thank you as well. We were having a good time, laughing, everything going great. Then she asks if I was mad at her. I said I wasn't, didn't know why she would think I was. She told me to be honest, I was. I was having a good time and wasn't mad at all about anything. Voices were never raised, the conversation could not have been misconstrued. I was genuinely confused. She could not explain why she thought I was mad, but she could just tell. Again, I assured her I wasn't. She accused me of lying about how I felt and stormed out. Maybe she was projecting a bit, but I don't know what she could have been mad about. I let it go. The next day I called her up, she was evasive, said we shouldn't see each other anymore. I didn't understand why, but I respected her decision. Ran into her 6 months later, she asked me out again. I was confused and hesitant. I figured she probably dumped me for some other dude and it didn't work out, so I wanted an explanation first. Nope, she dumped her 1-900 psychic advisor after she received bad relationship and career advice. She dumped me, quit her job, dyed her hair, and a litany of other more egregious life changes I won't discuss here, some of which were dangerous. She ended our relationship because a telemarketing psychic scammer dispensed fortune cookie caliber advice while charging her by the minute. I politely declined to see her again. Although it was me who ended things, my ex always belittled me for not having a great job or career at the age of 25. Always told me, guys your age are making 6 figures while you waste your time traveling and working a shitty job. It honestly crushed my confidence because I agreed with her somewhere deep inside me. The rat race gets to you sometimes. It's been 2 years and it's the first time since that I'm feeling somewhat good about where I am in life. I'm trying to accept myself for me, and I was lucky enough to get a pretty solid new job in the middle of the pandemic. Feeling good about 2021. I had an ex like that. I'm a woman. He would compare me to other women he met before we started dating. I was 22 and he would always complain about my job and that I didn't own a house. Meanwhile, he only worked part-time and didn't own a house either. Looking back, I think he was projecting his unhappiness with his own situation onto me. I had literally just started my career. It was a decent job and it had benefits. I was quite lucky compared to many others my age. I had made goals in college and achieved them. We eventually broke up. He casually told me one Sunday after literally spending the whole weekend with me, that he was moving across the country in a few days. Like, yay, thanks for letting me know, dude. Dated a girl for 2 weeks, technically a month, as she and her family went away for a 2-week holiday. 2 weeks into dating, and she came back and broke up with me, saying she can't be with me as she realizes she will end up cheating on me and she doesn't want to lose me in her life. 7 months down the line, she dates a guy for 3 years and the guy lives 2 hours by local flight away. I saw a girl I hadn't seen since like grade 7 at the bar one night. I gave her a hug, we chatted, she left. Girlfriend at the time saw this from across the bar, and I guess apparently I cheated on her. Little did I know, she was already cheating on me with the dude she's with now. Took a lot of therapy to get over that one. Edit. I was so messed up by this, I didn't even talk to a girl for like 2 years after. She blew a tire driving home from my house and damaged the underside of her car too. She immediately phoned me crying. We sorted out the car and got her home safely. Then when she found out about the damage, she broke up with me and said she couldn't afford a relationship right now. I was quite confused and surprised. Although I think it's a dumb thing to break up with someone you're already in a relationship over. I can kind of see where she's coming from. Last year I had a bad year with regards to my car, and after all those bills I was glad I wasn't in a relationship. I feel like maybe she just felt so much pressure about not being able to contribute financially for a while that she thought she'd be a burden to you and that you might get fed up with covering for her on dates and stuff. I know that's how I would have felt had I been in a relationship with those bills. This might be a loose fit, but I was with this girl 7 years and on the doorstep of marriage. I asked her dad for his blessing, had it all lined out on where it was going to be, the color scheme, all that jazz. Well, it turned out she started an online relationship with a dude from Syria whom she met on VR chat. I worked a lot then, so she had plenty of time to do it because I didn't make her work. I paid all the bills, did all the cooking, everything. I couldn't get her to drive 10 minutes down the road to Walmart to get groceries with my money. So she lays it out to me one night that she's breaking it off but has the audacity to say, "Can I stay here another month?" I say nah, she leaves. Find out later through a mutual friend that this guy paid for her to fly over to Israel and meet. She lied to her parents about why they're ultra-religious, so Jesus, and nobody heard from her for 2 weeks. Mind you, this was peak ISIS era. She was 40 miles from their claimed territory. A young woman, by herself, and nobody knows where she is. Dude ghosted her. She wanted to get back together. Lol nah. You said you stopped loving me a year ago but planned a wedding with me anyway? Fuck outta here edit. I keep getting comments about how she didn't work. Listen, there was a time where she was the one working and supporting me. I wasn't bothered by the lack of working, but rather the lack of doing anything. This behavior was only the last 3 months of our 7 years. Chill. I got hit with the nice guy label before. Unprompted, this girl once told me that she couldn't date me because I was too nice. Funny thing is that I had never once shown any interest in this girl. Never flirted with her or anything, so I was confused why she would even say it. So I guess I was preemptively dumped that one time. Edit, a word. Mine was the typical astrology situation. We had great chemistry, good sex, respect for each other, etc. I started to notice that she was very easily convinced by anything she read on the internet. So she started reading more and more about astrology and bringing it up. I'm an Aquarius, she's a Taurus, and whatever she was reading online was obviously saying that match has compatibility issues. She kept basically coming up with issues out of thin air that weren't even real and would say something like, maybe we're not compatible, me being a Taurus blah blah blah. I was convinced at the time that had she not been reading all of this astrology shit, none of that would have been happening. So she breaks up with me. All of the dialogue in her reasoning to break up with me was this whole Aquarius-Taurus compatibility matter she had been reading about. I was so confused and upset because we were initially going so well. At the time I thought this was possibly an excuse to break up because there might have been another guy in the picture. But as time passed after the breakup and her and I having many mutual friends, I found out that the other guy in the picture thing wasn't the case. She fully believed the astrology websites she was reading and turned out to be batshit crazy lol, dodged a bullet on that one boys. Careful with the ones who put so much value of astrology into their lives. Really not stupid, but I dated a girl who couldn't decide if she was bi or gay. We would have sex and we got along great, then she would decide that she wanted to be gay, and go date some girl. I didn't have a problem with that, but, by accident, I met her gay GF. That was a really awkward encounter, but we got to talking, and we figured out she was using both of us. We both broke up with her. It wasn't the sex choice that killed it, it was the using part that did. My first girlfriend. This was 7th grade. We were in a group of friends that would walk to the nearby river after school and just hang out, feeding ducks, skipping rocks. There were like 5 of us. I grew really fond of this girl. We had the same taste in music and I really liked her long hair and smile. I finally grew the courage to ask her out one day by the river, and to my surprise she'd said yes and that she'd liked me all along too. We dated for literally a week. She broke up with me because she said nothing had changed. I admit, all I did was hold her hands before school during that week. She was my first girlfriend and I was super nervous and just didn't know how to handle it. I was crushed because I still really liked her and the breakup came out of nowhere. She wanted to remain friends but I kinda avoided her. We didn't have any classes together. We were only friends because another girl in our group had a ton of classes with both of us and we decided to form the group since we all liked the river. I remember before and while dating her, I'd see her in the hallways and get that uncontrollable butterfly in your stomach feeling. I'd get the same feeling after the breakup, but mix in some fear into that. In my head at the time, she hated me, that's why she wanted to break up. Remember it like yesterday. I'm 24 now. I baked her cookies and brought them to her while she was shopping in the mall. We arranged to meet up on the phone and she told me where she is. Nevertheless, when we met she said that was invasion of her personal space and dumped me. Edit. Adding the full story, as some questions popped up. I bake cookies. I call her and ask if we can meet real quick, but I mention no cookies. She says yes and that she is in the mall. I go there and call her to find out where in the mall she is exactly. We meet and I surprise her with the cookies. She starts ranting that she doesn't want my cookies, and that I am intruding her space by coming to give her cookies and that giving her cookies is such a stupid reason to invade her personal space. She said that was the final straw and she wants to end our 1.5-year-long relationship. Needless to say, that was not the real reason she wanted to break up with me. I found it out some years afterwards. The real reason was that we were both applying for university exchange program at the time, we were in the same class, and she was afraid I will find out what her uni acceptance math exam score was. Apparently, when we started dating she lied about her score because thought I will think she is stupid. She then wanted to maintain the lie so I would not think she is stupid. Her score was not excellent, but still over 80%. At the end we got back together after a month and ended lasting 5 more years together. Boy, do I have some crazy stories. So my first girlfriend was this abusive, alcoholic girl who was 5 years older than me. She was from a different culture and got off on my rock and roll look, struggled with the shame of weird evangelical religiosity. We fought and broke up and got back together constantly. She said that's what true love was. Anyway, one time she was over and we were having make-up sex in the doggy-style position, and just as I pulled out and busted the coconut, she happened to turn her head sideways so her ear was facing me and I accidentally came in her ear all the way from back there. She literally freaked the fuck out. Told me it was a sign from God. And dumped me on the spot. Of course we were back together in a few hours. But this one time really makes me laugh baha. After almost 6 months, she didn't even give me a real reason. We never fought, we were always happy together. Then she had a day where she just rethought her entire life and decided that we should just be friends. One day we were together and she loved me, the next time I saw her she didn't. I was really good at picking up on how she felt, but this was written all over her and I could tell her feelings for me were gone completely. To this day I don't know why she left and I haven't been in love since. Our relationship was the happiest time in my life by an enormous margin. The breakup was the most painful thing I've been through by quite a margin as well, even though I've been through some painful shit. I'm only just beginning to be back at the baseline level one was at before we were together. So yeah, I'd call that a pretty stupid reason, and I'd say it hit pretty hard. Dated a girl for about 3 weeks. She's acting weird all of a sudden. Not answering my texts, so I back off and just leave her alone. She calls and says she wants to meet. We meet at a bar and she proceeds to tell me she wants to break up. But she follows up that she doesn't want me to be too upset because she wants to date again later. She's just leaving for spring break and doesn't want to cheat on me. I just told her good luck and up and left. I was astonished by the train of thought. Edit. First ever award. Thank you. Back when I was in my mid-20s I had been seeing a girl for about 5 to 6 months. One night she sends me a random text message saying we should break up because I was not an independent adult. I owned my own house, and had a good job. She lived in her parents' basement, they were rich so she basically owned the massive basement to herself which was like 2,000 square feet, and drove a Lexus her dad gave her for her birthday. It was so confusing but she sent that message and then basically just blocked me and disappeared, so maybe that is what bothered me more. She broke up with me 5 or 4 years ago, because she was late for the shuttle bus organized by our university and I wasn't. I didn't want to miss my finals of that year, so I got in and went to the uni. Turns out she got up, dressed up, and fell asleep again after I have called her to check on her. I was like, WTF is wrong with you? It hit me hard, but I got over quickly. On the first days of 2021 she reached out to me and apologized, saying how stupid of her that was and she still feels warm, remembering our time together. To say I was weirded out is to say nothing. Apparently, I was good to her, but he was good for her. See, she was a not exactly good Christian girl, and he went to her church. I was an agnostic who respected her faith, but I just wasn't where she was. They had known each other for years since high school, their families knew each other, etc. So be it. Fast forward about 25 years and I am a happily married Protestant minister, and she is on her second marriage, neither of which was with her church guy. Edit. Some people are curious how an agnostic eventually becomes a minister. There was a approximately 20-year gap between those two events. Not long after this girl and I broke up, we were in college, I nonetheless got curious about religion. I had been raised Catholic, but left in my teens. My dad had also left, but started listening to a really good, really knowledgeable local preacher on the radio, and got me hooked on him. My dad and I started attending this guy's Bible study, then his actual church. In person, he was just this really humble, really nice guy that knew tons about scripture, history, and theology. I later became a Christian in part because of his teaching, and then eventually started teaching my own Bible studies in my 30s. In my early 40s, I felt called to the ministry, mostly to continue teaching, but to also take on other volunteer, pastoral roles. So I went through the process, and got ordained. I still mostly teach, but I also mentor, and I got to officiate one funeral, my dad's. We had grown very close, but as Christian believers. Met this girl on a temp job, and after the job finished, we started dating, seeing each other for a few weeks, and we were progressing. One night I was introducing her to a few friends as she was joining me while I helped my friends out for something. I asked what do I call her when I introduced her. She was okay with girlfriend, so I assumed we were all good. Then we also went to a party together the following night, and that night was probably the closest we had been since we got together. Come next morning we still seemed fine. Then the next week I had no contact from her. As I was going away for about a week, I was trying to see her before I left. She eventually responded with a very vague few-word answer of why she was busy. While I was away for the week, still had no contact. If I messaged, I had no response, except for one when she said it was a drunk text, but it wasn't anything suspicious.
Now I have very good instincts when it comes to this sort of thing, and I absolutely knew we were done.
As hurt as I was fine with it because what else could I do? As suspected, the day I got back I got a message from her that we needed to talk and she wanted me to call her after work. Yeah, knew it, I was right. But when I went to call her, she didn't pick up, and didn't return my call. All she said was she couldn't talk then and there. It took another week to even get a hold of her, via text, and she was acting like nothing was wrong. I proceeded to give her the time to compose herself to eventually talk to me. Then finally, another week later while I was at an event, she wanted me to call later, which I did, and when I called, again, she talked like nothing was wrong. Even when I asked her outright if anything was wrong and did she want to talk to about something, all she said was she just wanted to catch up because it had been a while. We then proceeded to talk for a few hours, then finally she got up the courage to actually tell me what's going on. Though she couldn't say the words, I knew she wanted to break up with me. Her words were, "You know what I want to say," but I kept pushing it, pretending like I had no idea. Then she finally said the words, "I want to break up with you." Zero explanation, but the fact that she finally said it took a weight off my shoulders. Seriously, it was one of the most difficult few weeks because I knew exactly what was going to happen. But there was relief. If only she had told me 3 weeks earlier, it would have been so much easier. The next few weeks were hard, but we stayed friends, and we ended up working together on another temp job, so I sort of had to at least save face, but it did eventually stop being awkward. Still don't know the reasons why she broke up with me, but I certainly do at least have a few theories why. Moral of the story, do not let any girl string you around, and if you see there is a problem, sort it out before it gets out of hand. I was in a relationship in 2017. I was working in Mumbai, India at a high-paying job. I was planning to take a month-long leave in October 2018 and go to Nepal for hiking solo. She didn't like this. So, I go to Nepal, and when I am in the middle of my month-long hike, I was on 2 long hikes, Annapurna Circuit and EBC3 passes, I got WhatsApp MSGs from her that she dumped me. I don't really know what happened to her suddenly. 2 months later she posts her engagement pictures with another guy. Sometimes I feel it happened for good. The first date after my ex-wife ended things, I went out with this chick. We got on, but I was still heartbroken and hung up on my ex. Probably mentioned her a few too many times. Anyway, the evening progressed and I made it clear to the woman that I wasn't ready for anything long-term, just having a bit of fun. She started telling me how if she wanted to see someone again, she would go home alone, and if she didn't, she liked to get laid, modern independent woman and all that. Fine by me. I was secretly hopeful for a shag, but happy to see her again. At the end of the night she gave me a smooch and said see you soon, and got on the bus. I walked off feeling chuffed that I still had it, whatever that is. 5 minutes later she sent me a text saying, I'm sorry. You clearly want a lot more from me than I can offer. I don't want a long-term relationship like you do. Color me confused. Needless to say, that smashed my very fragile self-esteem and put me back a few steps. Ironically, about 4 months later, we matched on Tinder again, until she realized. I would rather have not had the smooch and told she wasn't interested, than leading me on slightly. Maybe I was overkeen. Maybe I wanted to see signs that weren't there. Who knows? But it stung. Note, I am from a third world country and love marriage means dating a woman and getting married instead of elders arranging a marriage. I was dumped because her parents had an unsuccessful love marriage and she believed that our marriage would be in shambles if we ever married. Also, she wanted to study and crack an exam to be government servant, and it is a big deal in my country where I come from. P.S. I was dumped because of above-mentioned reasons, but I believe the main reason could be that she fell out of love. I still have feelings for her. I have still not shaken up the fact that we are not together anymore after 2 years. I dated a girl and she dumped me after I took her to the driving range golf. She consistently topped the ball and sent it 15 yards, and was upset. She was highly intelligent and has since become very successful. But this day, at the driving range, she could not handle being not immediately good at something. I don't think anyone can really pick up a golf club and just give a perfect swing without any advice, but wow did it wreck her confidence. She then told me I had embarrassed her since it was in front of maybe 10 old guys that couldn't have given less of a shit about what she was doing. Later that afternoon she dumped me. Later she apologized, but I was wiser than agreeing to that. I was having a great time with a guy for months in my mid-20s. He was smart, attractive, fun, we had lots in common, my friends liked him too. Then one day, over Messenger he says that he can't be with me because I was too much of a distraction from his schoolwork. He was finishing his bachelor's program at the time. I was floored. He had never mentioned anything about it to me before. It was just seriously out of the fucking blue. I was devastated. I had gotten out of a pretty toxic relationship cycle and done some casual dating, but nothing I wanted to be serious about. For him to claim I was too fun, too interesting, too irresistible, or whatever made me so distracting was just ludicrous. I never heard from him again. Hope he found someone profoundly boring and is having the most neutral life ever. 15 years later and I'm having the time of my life. My husband thinks I'm awesome. She basically insulted my whole family and all of my friends' families. Saying the fact I spent time with my parents was cultish behavior. The week before that she texted her parents saying that I was going to murder her on our date night. I was listening to music and driving us home thinking she was asleep, so you can imagine the fun conversation I had with her dad after that. Basically she then stormed off and told me to leave. Obviously I am confused and upset about the whole scenario, so I turn my phone off and go for an hour drive to clear my head. I get home and turn my phone on to about 20 texts and 5 missed calls, so like a gentleman I message her back reassuring her I wasn't dead and stuff and that I was just upset. She then asked if I was mad and I obviously said, yes I am a bit annoyed. I then basically said the day's events and the car thing upset me and I would respect it if she would just give me a day to clear my head, which I thought was reasonable. Anyway she gets mega pissed off at me for it all and breaks up with me. So yeah, PS I later get over 50 teary drunk voice messages from her begging me to take her back. I didn't. Oh god, so I went through a short period where I seemed to date several women who did this in a row. Haha, the best one was this. Met this girl at a bar, asked her out, we dated for around 6 months.
Now to get some perspective on this girl.
She had only previously dated guys who in some way or another didn't have their shit together and were damaged in some way, so she'd get off on fixing them. So jump to me, and she keeps asking what my traumas are, and I keep telling her that yeah, I've hit rough patches here and there, but not really damaged or jaded. She keeps pushing the issue, really looking for anything she can fix. Eventually she dumps me and goes back to her ex who had a cocaine problem. She then hits me up and asked if I could still take her on nice dates and hook up, even though she'd still be with her ex because he needed her because he was in a bad place. It's kinda funny in retrospect. What logic train made sense in her mind that her request was okay?
Thank you for watching. And if you are new, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Don't forget to like and comment. That will help us continue.